I think it's just important for all men to understand. Men only fall into depression a lot of the times when they either, or I would even say both, when they lack purpose and they can't tell the truth, right? Those are the two ways that men tend to be depressed. When a man doesn't have something that he's willing to fight and die for, obviously his life tends to suck. There's nothing you are doing. We are doers. God has given us the ability to do things and create things and make things, right? He's given us that ability and power. So when we don't use it, naturally we feel bad. We feel like something is wrong, you know? And which makes sense. And something is wrong because you should be doing something. You should have a purpose that you're fighting and dying for, right? It's the only way that your life becomes meaningful to you. Otherwise, naturally, you're going to drown yourself in pleasure and doing degenerate things and doing depraved things. Because what else is there to do? You know, if you have nothing you're fighting and dying for, what else are you going to do? You're just going to drink, party, smoke, gamble, do all the, deadly sins, basically, or the vices or whatever. You're going to fall into that shit because there's nothing else to really do. And another side of this, though, is even if you have a purpose, right? Let's say you find your calling or find something that you enjoy doing for the long term, whatever that may be, and unfortunately, you can't say the truth. This tends to be common with entertainers. This is why entertainers usually do a lot of depraved things because when you're an entertainer, you're controlled in what you're allowed to have opinions on. What you can be honest about and what you can't be honest about, like you're controlled, right? Or you don't get the vehicle behind you. You don't get the vehicle that promotes you, advertises you, puts you everywhere. You don't get that, if you're being openly honest and real about how you feel about certain things. But the thing is, when this also happens to men, they tend to become very depressed as well. Because when you can't be truthful about what you really think about particular situations, especially if they're controversial, you know, what's the point of having all the money and the fame and the status and all these different things if you can't be honest about how you feel about things? It's like, what's the point? Like, why have all this power and you can't do anything really with it? Right? Sure, you're famous, you have money or whatever, but you really can't do much with your power. You can't be honest about anything, because if you're honest, you're going to lose everything that you have. And so now you're stuck in this dilemma where it's like you want to be honest about things, but you'll lose everything you have if you are honest. So you're stuck having to lie about everything all the time, And this is why you might not realize, but a lot of these entertainers tend to be depressed or be going crazy or be hooked on drugs and shit. And then you sit there and you wonder why, and it's like because they can't do anything else. You think they can talk about real controversial topics, you know, or be honest about how they actually feel about things? No, they know that they can't because they're going to lose their handlers. They're going to lose everything that they have. So what else is there to do? You know, it's just fall into vices. When a man has his purpose that he's following in his life and it can be honest and truthful about what he really thinks about things, that's when he's at his best. That's when you are free as a man. You have no shackles. The masculine destiny is independence and the pursuit of independence, both mental and physical, right? Physical aspect will be wealth. Once you have money, you have the freedom to do what you want to do, right? But the mental aspect is being able to speak the truth and say the truth and be honest about things, how you see things or how you feel about things. But a lot of men give up that side for the physical. They gain all the money and the wealth and the status and the fame, but they give up the ability to be honest about things. So it's like a layered depression that a lot of these men fall into, which is why they always get addicted to drugs or do depraved things and show up on Epstein's Island and shit because they have to hide. So, saying this all to say, it's important as a man that you never sell your soul. You know, it's not worth it. The money and the fame and the status is not worth the truth. If you can't speak the truth, it's really not worth it. There's no point. Because realistically speaking, if I said, hey, I'll give you $1 million, but you have no control over what you get to do, would you really want to sit there and take that? You'd be like, fuck no, then it's not worth it. It's only worth it if you can be free, right? So never sign no contract, no deal where you're selling your freedom away unless you want to and unless you understand what you're getting into. So let this just be known. Let's say you want to be an entertainer, you want to be an actor, or any of these things, any of these industries that have enablers, record labels, whatever it is. If you want to get into that shit, just understand what comes with it. You're going to lose that ability to tell the truth. And I'm telling you, it might not actually be worth it for you. So just keep that shit in mind, y'all. It's super important.